Welcome to the Full Send Racing Association, the Full Send Racing Series, presenting the Big Peach 205, presented by 27tattoo72 over on Twitch. Welcome to the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Qualifying is currently underway, about 3 minutes left, and a few extra additions added in right at the last second as well, just before we went live. But nonetheless, qualifying is still underway. Hopefully everyone is having a wonderful evening tonight. And boy, oh boy, this is going to be absolutely, this is going to be a challenge for these drivers. And the reason being is, of course, the 2008 iteration of Atlanta, which means, and in case it wasn't obvious enough, the surface is going to be insanely abrasive on these tires, and that's going to be something to watch out for here tonight, or slash this evening. We do have a live race control as well for this week, so I'll be keeping an eye on anything going on there throughout the night in case anything is needed for live race control. Again, qualifying currently underway as we take a look at gates 3 through 6 and where exactly they are located. 2 minutes left in qualifying as of right now. Let's see if we can get some timing information up for you on the screen. Provided, of course, it wants to cooperate, that being the main thing. And let's take a look on track and see where everybody is at, what's happening, and I'll see if anyone is unfortunately struggling, and doesn't look to be the case so far, luckily. Currently riding on board the 77 of Larry Griffin as he will be crossing the start-finish line here in just a couple of moments. Where does he place? Does he improve from 13th? Yes, he does. He goes to 10th place on the grid. Hunter Karsten as well, just about to start his flying lap. Actually, correction, he's already on his flying lap. He's about to finish his first one, and he's going to start his second one here at the start-finish line with 43 seconds or so to spare. Appropriately enough, he is in position 13 after that. Hopefully everyone is doing well this weekend. This evening, or whatever time it is for you, really. Time zones are mildly confusing, and with 15 seconds to spare, the one time that isn't going to be confusing is the time of Hunter Karsten as he crosses the start-finish line to go to 12th place. They seem to have lost a... Ah, there we go. Well, he will take the tow. 3 drivers have not taken a time. They've opted to start in the back of the field. And we'll go through who exactly is starting where with your starting grid. As, of course, once everything decides to cooperate. There we go. So your starting grid for this evening is apparently deciding to rapidly cycle for this week, so we'll see if that will cooperate. It will not. Well, I was going to say, I mean, technically that is your starting grid. It's just going rapid fire for some reason, so apologies for that. But luckily we have the old-fashioned way of just the usual timing tower, this time with colors. Not sure why it says everyone is in pit row. That's not technically the case. But if we switch to here, there we go. Something like a little small edit. Luckily 23 cars, so all the drivers will be fitting on this timing tower, and you can see where everyone will be starting, but we're going to go through anyway, just so you're extra aware. Cameron Sarton, appropriately enough, in the number 1, has qualified on the pole position. Second place to his outside is the 8 of Brian McCann. Michael Thorpe Jr. in the 34. Let's start off on the inside lane next to Zachary Lovelace in the 33, appropriately enough. They round out row number 2. Trey Jackson in the 5 rounds out the top 5 as Cameron Sarton has actually just dropped out due to packet loss. A couple internet issues on his end. He does have, I think, if I had to guess, maybe about a minute left to actually, no, he might not have a minute left. We'll see. Trey Jackson starts off in 5th. Travis starts in 6th. 7th place is Tony Brent. Just outside is the 15 of Chris Chavez-Ezery. Corey Moore starts off in 9th. 10th place being rounded out by the 77 of Larry Griffin. The 101 of Philip Chavez starts off in 11th with the 13 of Hunter Karsten starting on the outside lane. The 4 of Jeffrey Souza starts 13th, and to his outside, the 14th place position is the number 3, there we go, of Ryan Lynch. William Duff in the 17 rounds out the top 15 with Jared Claude, starting off in the 16th place position in the number 46. Brian Johnson in the, we skipped over Doug Pierce in the 39. He starts off in 17th. 18th place of Brian Johnson. Bill Dart will start 19th. Rounding out the top 20 is the 80 of Victor Pfluger. That leaves the rest of the field where John Dart, Jonathan Burt, and Heberly Telemac have not set a qualifying time. Cameron Sarton has dropped out. He will reconnect eventually. He's working currently on reconnecting. And just before we go green flag racing, here is the championship standings going into this race. These will be updated at the stage. So these points and of course the point order will change. We would have had a timing tower, but it's being a little bit finicky today. So we'll see how things go. You see the 4 of Jeffrey Souza with 0 points. He did not start last week. However, he is starting this week, so he does have a chance to get some points on the board. Well, a little bit of a rush, but we made it. Luckily, the pace car is going to make it into pit row, the hard left-hand turn, and the green flag is being waved. We are underway here at Atlanta. Michael Thorpe did not get going. I see the battle for the lead already heating up. Michael Thorpe Jr. trying to run on the inside lane, trying to outrace Brian McCann, who just scrapes the wall off turn number 2 as we go down into turn 3 for the second time this afternoon. And of course, luckily, with the multi-groove racing, luckily, Brian McCann is able to run on the top side. He's hung out to the outside so far. How long can he stay up there? I love how on the side of the car it just says the word 8. Technically, he's not incorrect. Thorpe slides up to the outside. That means it's going to be Brian McCann going back down to the inside lane. Looks like he will just park it right there on the apex as he will go into the lead. Of course, for this race, I briefly touched on it. For this race, the stage ends at lap number 80. So I think that's an 80. Yep, so quite later in the race. So it will be lap 80 for the stage end. No caution will be thrown at the end of the stage. It'll just be at the completion of lap 80 or whatever's closest, depending on the scenario that we are given. I'll wait for 2 seconds, and suddenly it's these two side by side just as they started, basically. Well, let's take a look back through the field just a little bit. Travis Dart tucks right in behind the number 15 of Chris Chavez-Esri. In fact, Brian McCann, of course, the second I look away, he slid up into the outside wall, loses a little bit of ground. So we'll be falling back a little bit. The inside lane, very early on, of course, the preferred line. And we'll see how this fares for him as we have 2x2 down the front straightaway. Chris Chavez about to go into the second place position. The 33 of Lovelace flying back a little bit on the very top side. Trying to make that work as best he can. Move the 15 up to P2. Move the 33 up to, appropriately enough, position number 3. Travis Dart up to 4th place. Just like that, everybody has relatively settled out for now. And luckily, Cameron Sarton is on track. So he was able to make it. He has not been put one lap down, luckily. As it looks like that display is unfortunately not working for this race. That is the number 1 of Cameron Sarton. Going through mid-pack, taking a look at a few of the mid-pack battles. This is Jonathan Burt in the 6th. On the outside of Ryan Lynch, they are side by side for P15 on the track. Looks like right now Burt will get ahead in that temporary battle as we move further up. Corey Moore and Tony Brent side by side for 7th. Corey Moore will move himself up to position number 7. And just as we go into turn number 3, here comes Chris Chavez-Esri to try and take the lead away. No bonus points for leading. It's just going to be 40 points for winning, 35 points for second, and then minus 1 point from every single position on down to, in this case, 23rd. So even if Sarton were to disconnect, he would still have, or have issues, he would still have points in the bag by the end of the race. Trying to get the extra 5 points is, well, going to be between Thorpe and Chris Chavez-Esri here. Down the back straightaway they go. Nearly making contact entering turn number 1. Right on board the 33 of Zach Lovelace, just watching this battle occur in front of them. I say them, I mean, it's technically, yeah, in front of Travis Dart as well. I was thinking on going on board with him. Let's see where he's out. Oh, just sitting directly behind Lovelace. Move the 15 up to the point, just like that. 10 laps in. Currently on lap 11 now. You'll see at the top left-hand side on the timing tower that you'll see the associate sponsors, effectively, of the Full Send Racing Association cycle through a little bit through the night. Of course, Butt Kicker, On the Throttle Racing, and Team Watson Racing setups. As we take a look at the battle for P4, McCann has gotten himself sorted, gotten himself adjusted, used to the track conditions. Trying to make a move on Travis Dart on the inside lane off turn 4. Dart on the defensive lane, or at least as on the defensive as he can get while being on the outside lane. Trying to run that top lane, save a little bit of the tires, and try and not hit the outside wall as he does there. That's the same thing that McCann did, and while McCann gets a little bit a chance to relax effectively as he goes away, charges ahead into P4, side by side between Trey Jackson and Travis Dart. Of course, with the outside lane on corner exit. Oh man, just see how close they're running to the outside wall too. Some instances almost quite literally hitting the outside wall. As Travis Dart continues to try and run the upper lane, you can carry just a little bit more momentum, and that works for Travis off turn 2. So move Travis Dart back up into the 5th place position, puts Trey Jackson down 1 position from where he had started, but it's still very, very, very early on in this race. It's still only lap 13 of 133, and even still the stage ends at lap 80. So it's still a lot to play for here in this event. On board Corey Moore there for a short while as he chases down Travis Jackson. A few passes further in the back, that's Jonathan Burke getting by on the outside of Larry Griffin off turn 2. So very spread out. This is more the race. This is the race where you more race the track than the cars in front of you. The cars just happen to be in the way sometimes, but that doesn't make a difference though, because, well, the car being quite literally in the way is the 33 being in the way of Brian McCann. McCann trying to utilize that top side once again. Lovelace having the exact same idea though. And just that half a lane higher, you can listen to the throttle application here. I thought, let's ride on board for a 1 lap and take a look at the gyro cam too. Let's listen to the throttle of Brian McCann. Very gentle throttle application throughout the corners. Last lap, it's, in the grand scheme of things, about dead even. 700ths of a second advantage to Brian McCann. I did see on the timing tower that Bill Dart had actually lost a few positions. Not exactly sure what happened, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at a replay in a few moments' time to see what exactly had happened to the number 7 machine. That is, if we were able to do so. That is still a live picture, but we'll try this one more time and see exactly what happened here. And we just caught it. It was off turn number 2. He slid to the outside lane too quickly. Oh man, yeah, just understeer. And decided to pull it down to the apron just to get out of the way. So fair enough, and of course a lot of respect between those two drivers, between all these drivers really. I did see for a moment as well that the 15 had apparently gotten passed by the 34, but it might have been a connection issue just for a couple moments. Otherwise, luckily enough, Chris Chavez-Esri doing very well leading the field here throughout Atlanta. The 2008 iteration as well, which I'd absolutely love. Of course, there's a super speedway, the modern, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not revamped necessarily. It might just be revamped. Nonetheless, though, I do appreciate the decision for them to choose the 2008 Atlanta, which is, of course, doing 2 back-to-back super speedways, not the most enjoyable option. So then they came up with this. And this is just absolutely impressive, seeing Thorpe having the left side tires on the white line, trying to control that car as best as possible. Despite all of this, despite all these laps and the, no doubt, tire fall-off that is occurring, the entire top 5 are still just within 1 second of each other. At least from 1st to 5th, it's all 1 second separating these drivers. It's practically nothing separating McCann from Thorpe as we take a look from up above. Getting a much better look at seeing where all these drivers are running, what they're doing in terms of what lines they're running and what they think is the best idea for their car at the time. McCann's still trying to run the top side, a lot of understeer, I think, as that's what that was, on corner entry. You can see the gap visually closing half a car length, a quarter of a car length, but McCann not going to move to the inside lane. Thorpe takes the outside lane away and just very smoothly arcs it into turn 3, and then pretty much diamonding the corner just incredibly smoothly. It's not something I'll be able to do, I can tell you that for free. A little bit of cloud cover here at Atlanta as well as overcast starts to kick in. Let's take a look a little bit further back as well. Corey Moore in the number 84 machine, sitting currently in P6. He's got Trey Jackson, who is, I don't want to say he's doing damage limitation or damage control in a sense, because he hasn't fallen back too far. On paper, he's only fallen back 2 positions, and it's been 25 laps. I think he's fine, to say the least. Another driver that is fine is Heberly Telemac, as Heberly moves up to the 13th place position, a little bit into the outside wall. A lot of loss of control as the Texas Speed, part of the 1/4 of the Texas Speed team, I believe, is Jared Claude, who has popped out of existence for just a little bit. Decides to pop back in and pop back out again. Oh, contact is made as well with Ryan Lynch. Fantastic car control as well by Ryan, who just saves it. Wonderful job. Wow, that is a save that we are 100% going to look at here in just a couple moments' time. I could hear the throttle lift too of Jared, who realized, oh no, I'm going down low when I shouldn't be. Absolutely amazing car control by Ryan Lynch, though. Great save as we come to lap 28 of 133. And just when we think the race is kind of strung out a little bit, well, everyone in the top 5 decides, no, it isn't. And that definitely shows here as the 34 of Thorpe, a little bit of a bobble, I think, on the inside lane, just a little bit. It does keep the car under control, slides right back in line, and they'll have another go again down the front straightaway into turn 1, no doubt. Well, a few laps ago I said that the top 5 were within a second of each other. They still are. It was about 9/10 of a second at the time. Now it's 7/10 of a second, which technically isn't much, but in the grand scheme of things, it is quite a lot. And another thing that was a lot is Trey Jackson, who made a move on Corey Moore, but slides right up the racetrack. He's able to hold station, though, in first place. Thorpe again now doesn't have the option to slide behind the 15. Here comes Brian McCann around the outside lane. Oh, man. I thought he was going to side draft. I thought he was going to slide back to the behind the 34. I was going to turn the 34 mid-corner there, but they do manage to hang on. This does bring in both Lovelace in the 33 and the 26 of Travis Stark. Just watching, seeing how things are going, letting the action play out, and the action is going to be for second place once again. McCann just sneaks his way to the outside lane. Not able to do anything with that, though, just yet. 34 of Thorpe slides right back behind the 15, a little bit indecisive, but he does end up doing so. To the inside goes Michael Thorpe again. He's been trying this move, trying to go to the inside for the past couple of laps now, and still is just not able to get the speed. Let's ride on board Lovelace here as we watch the battle play out. Well, we're at the point we are just under 100 laps to go. In fact, 99 laps to go here at the start-finish line. And as much as Thorpe is putting up a fight, Chris Chavez is still just able to stay out in front, running just about half a lane higher in that middle lane. Trying to do the absolute best possible to defend first place, and well, that's definitely working, that is for sure. But for now, everyone's strung out, not really able to, I was going to say, technically not able to make a pass. Of course, if you've been following, in fact, actually, Heberly starting to fall back on the outside lane on the entry to turn 4 now. Perhaps a little bit of a bobble mid-corner, and I definitely saw at least, definitely for sure. Of course, staying up here in this lane doesn't exactly work out all the time, but not just a, not the most optimized corner entry. We'll see how it's playing out for the 88, but a bit of a check-in. There's number 1 of Cameron Sarton. He qualified in first place. Lost connection, missed the starting grid. And somehow he is not only on the lead lap, it's Brian Johnson. No, correction, was that Ryan Lynch? Someone that was sliding off the corner, that is for sure. Whoever it was, they did manage to keep it in control, but for Cameron Sarton, who nearly trades paint with the 88. I think the 17 of Duff had traded paint with the outside wall. Cameron Sarton missed the initial start, basically, and, well, there he is, just as if it never even happened. Currently sitting 15th. Well, I would say as if it didn't happen. It did happen, but it's more as if he took an extra pit stop just for fun. The 2 drivers in front, the 14 and the 4, or 17 and the 4. Jeffrey Souza, his first race of the season. running a part-time schedule, if I remember correctly. William Duck trying to defend as much as possible. Defend against Souza. He won't defend against the number 1 machine of Cameron Sarton. Is Souza going to pit road? Yes, he is. I was about to say, I wonder when the stops would start to occur. This is one of them. Jeffrey Souza, the first driver to blink. Does anyone else follow? It's going to be the next question. This is going to be the key thing to keep an eye on as we see position 1, position 2, 15-34. Chavez Ezri, Michael Thorpe. These two are still battling for the lead somehow, some way, as Corey Moore has just missed the edge of pit entry. Is that going to be an unsafe pit entry as determined by race control? Brian McCann also in pit road, just a little bit ahead. There he is in, I guess, the word 8 machine instead of the number 8 machine. I'm not sure exactly how that's supposed to work, but anything cleared by race control? I don't think so. Corey Moore did just miss pit entry. We caught the very tail end of that. Does anyone else decide to go to pit road? Pfluger's looking like he will. Yes, he does. 80 machine of Pfluger will go into pit road. Just keeps under control. There's Larry Griffin. Slides a little bit. Keeps under control. 55 miles an hour being the speed limit. Corey Moore still sitting in his pit box. It's been 35 seconds now. So if it's a 26-second pit entry violation, as far as I know, for missing pit entry, for getting an unsafe pit entry, it is 26 seconds. As Tony Brent just keeps it under control. Remember, Jeffrey Souza was the first driver to pit. He's currently 22nd on track, 1 lap down. Cameron Sarton has gotten shuffled to 9th place as of now. Doug Pierce has joined everybody else in pit road. And looks like hearing over the radio, Thorpe is pitting. Same with Chris Chavez. Is Lovelace going to pit? No, he does not. He stays out. So in pit road to come Chris Chavez Ezri, Michael Thorpe Jr., Trey Jackson, as well as, I believe, Hyperly Telemac. I agree, just these three. Jonathan Burt as well has just gotten himself on the pit road with quite a bit of right side damage. May have had a little bit of a meeting with the outside wall that was quite unintended. Travis Stark going to be the provisional leader, goes down into pit road. Travis Stark stays out. Does anyone else follow? Hunter Karsten looks like he has just somehow arrived at a rate of knots going into pit road. So now the drivers that have yet to pit are 1st through 7th as of right now. Everything, of course, is shuffling around, which is now 1st through 8th. And 1st through 9th. I'll get there eventually. There we go. So the top 10 have yet to pit. Does anyone else decide to go into pit road this time by? Top 10, no doubt, trying to maybe bank on a caution. Nearly the entire field you see is a lap down. Well, correction, nearly half the field is a lap down, if not mathematically about half the field. Well, Chris Chavez is your provisional leader as of right now, and man, that 34 is absolutely persistent. I can say that much for sure. Because he is still sitting behind the 15. And if the caution does come out, well, technically everyone does get a waiver round. We see the 26 go to pit road. This is, I would say, for the provisional lead, and it pretty much is. The entire top 4 have gone to pit road. So not only Travis Stark, same with the 101 of Philip Chavez. Cameron Sarton is in pit road. I can't believe, well, I'll wait a little bit to see where Sarton sorts himself out. You see the 93 in his pit box as well with the Ghost Racing logo on his car. Well, you see how everyone's shuffling through. I see all the drivers on pit road, of course, with the word pit indicated next to them. So you can keep up that way. It is quite a challenge. Does Heberly, Brian Johnson stay out? Does Ryan Lynch go to pit road? He does not, surprisingly. In the 7, also does not pit. Brian Johnson, currently the leader. Michael Thorpe Jr. has gotten by Chris Chavez. Only took an extra 30-something laps in the pit stop. Looks like John Dart has decided to retire from the race as well. Potentially too much damage on the 93, if I had to think. So that moves Corey Moore up into the 21st position. In fact, Cameron Sarton had to go to pit road again. Wait a minute. What happened to Cameron Sarton? Did he speed on pit road? He sat in his pit box for 54.8 seconds. Same goes for Corey Moore. Did he have a speeding violation, perhaps? Let's take a look back here real quick and see. This is just a very long pit stop, and oh, nope, that's speeding on pit road. I can see it visually, too. Same went for Corey Moore, apparently, at one point. He did not pit with Sarton at that time. Well, the drivers that did pit are trying to catch up the drivers that didn't pit, and while the overcut, the hope for the caution, just is not working out. Does Ryan Lynch go to pit road? No, he's still holding out hope. Bill Dart has also not pit yet. So 3 drivers have yet to go to pit road. Brian Johnson, Ryan Lynch, and Bill Dart. Kimberly Telemack has gone to pit road, currently sitting in the pit box with a lot of right side damage. Oh, in fact, Chris Chavez has just dropped internet connection as well. We'll see if he is able to get back into the sim, but that puts him out of the running for the lead right now, and during green flag conditions especially, that is going to be a huge blow. In fact, he dropped a few laps ago. He's been out for 3 laps. The scoring has been stopped 3 laps, so pretty much ever since we started looking at the replay, I think. Brian Johnson, I would say provisional leader, that has actually gone to the 8 of Brian McCann, who is the provisional leader. So the 21 of Brian Johnson, the 3 of Ryan Lynch have not gone to pit road. Bill Dart has just made his way onto pit road. Brian Johnson still has not pit. I would have pit that time if I were him. Does Ryan Lynch stay out as well? Yes, he does. Trying to hope for the best. As we see Brian McCann fly by the stationary camera in the turn 1 entry. This is going to be huge for the stage points as well. Yeah, and top 10 will get stage points from 10 points to first place, 9 points to second place, etc., all the way down to 1 point for 10th place. However, that's at lap 80, to my understanding. In fact, let me double check just one more time if it wasn't lap 50. Oh, that's definitely an 8, that is for sure. So lap 80 is the end of the stage, the completion of lap 80. And, well, move the 8 up to P1. Brian McCann has suddenly just gotten a huge burst of momentum. Not only quite literally, but, what's the opposite of literally? Somehow I'm blanking on words today. It's one of those days, isn't it? Figuratively, that's the word. My goodness. Michael Thorpe Jr. has been left in the dust, though, by Brian McCann. 5-second gap. These two had pit 3 laps apart. Brian McCann had pit 3 laps before Michael Thorpe Jr. So he's been out for about 3 laps longer. Same goes for Trey Jackson, putting on the same lap as Brian Johnson. Ryan Lynch has he gone to pit road? Surprisingly, no. In fact, I could have sworn we had a graphic for this as well. Ah, there we go. So this is what you see now on the timing tower is how many laps these drivers have been out, or basically how long the drivers have been since they have last pit. Got there at the end of the day. partially. And you see Brian Johnson and Ryan Lynch have yet to pit 55 laps. I wonder if they will decide to go to pit road. Does Ryan Lynch? Now he gets passed by Tony Brent, though. I see all the variances of strategies. I see Philip Chavez, who pit 9 laps ago, compared to Jeffrey Souza, who pit 16 laps ago. Lynch just letting everybody through, trying to make those tires last, trying to bank on the caution, trying to not go a lap down, but I don't know. At this point, I think it's worth coming in. He has Ryan Lynch has 4 seconds in between him and Jeffrey Souza, who is 11th. I don't think he's going to be staying in the top 10 and get those stage points. Brian Johnson has a very solid chance of getting stage points, but it's a very bold strategy. Let's see if he can make it that long, too. We will see as Thorpe will make his way through on the inside lane. And look at the 33. Just slides up in front of his teammate. 33 of Lovelace moves up to 3rd. Brian Johnson goes back down to 4th. That teammate is Jared Claude in the 46. He is 1 lap down. See, Heberly Telemac is still in pit road and has been for the past 5 minutes, 15 seconds. 88 did not tow, but not the best race for now. About 10 laps down, but points still on the board, points still at play as William Duff has just gotten by the 80 of Victor Pfluger, and he'll fly by Larry Griffin. It's a difference of about 5 laps of a pit stop as, nearly making contact of the 77 and the 80. No doubt a few paint scrapes. And there is the 8 of Brian McCann, who is 4.3 seconds ahead of everybody else. Pictured here is everybody else. This is absolutely impressive. Got to see Michael Thorpe Sr. cheering on his son, Michael Thorpe Jr. Considering how well Thorpe has been running for this race. Fair enough, of course. Absolutely impressive. Now it's just a matter of who blinks first. By the way, Brian Johnson under threat to no longer be in the top 10. He made it about an extra 10 laps or so. A little bit more than Ryan Lynch. Those two are about to be running together, actually. About 5 seconds separating those two drivers between Johnson and Lynch, the last 2 drivers that have yet to pit. And Ryan Lynch might be about to get, he's definitely about to get passed here by Jeffrey Souza. First race of the season for Jeffrey Souza, running part-time on the schedule. He moves himself into the top 10. Started, I believe, about 16th, 15th, around there. And, well, look at him now in the top 10 on track to get 1 point already. Brian McCann continues to lead. We will not be going to a break, but we will be showing you the points coming into this race. They will be updated momentarily after the stage. Let's take everything out here as we temporarily switch to a more scenic view to showcase everything. In fact, Brian Johnson just got passed for 9th place. So Philip Chavez goes to 8th. Brian Johnson back down to the 9th place position. So taking a quick look at the championship points coming into this race. Andrew Medlin, who was not able to make this race, also part-time. He currently leads. At least this was coming into this race. These points will be updated come the stage and the end of the race as soon as possible. I'll get this up one more time. The top 12 going into the playoffs will be fighting it out to go to the championship 4. And of course, a quick look at the schedule while we still have a chance as well. We are currently at Atlanta, 133 laps. You see everything here on your screen as Brian Johnson falls down to 13th and further as he decides it's finally time to go to pit road. And you see that correctly with the Championship 4. The Championship 4 drivers will be racing it out in the final 2 races, which I think is a absolutely brilliant decision. I'll show this once again at the end of the event. As we check back in with Brian McCann with the word 8. I still know how to refer to Brian McCann's car. Technically, he does have the number 8 on the top of his car, but he also has the word 8 on the side of his car. So I wonder if there's any specifics here in the case of, do we refer to him as the word 8 in this case? And oh, by the way, speaking of numbers, as we will get this thrown up on your screen right now, take a look at the last lap time between Brian McCann versus Michael Thorpe Jr. 3/10, roughly, of a second of a difference, with 15 laps to go in the stage, coming to 14 laps to go. Thorpe is on a charge. He is closing this gap. Not only that, he's bringing a couple friends with him in the form of Zachary Lovelace and Travis Dart. Jared Claude still sitting behind Lovelace. Yes, it is. And keep the graphic between first and second up on your screen as we take a look through the field just a little bit. That gap's slowly closing. Travis Dart staying up in 4th place once again. Started within the top 5 just about. And he had a really solid first half of the race so far, and he's doing absolutely fantastic as well. Still managing to stay in the top 5. Same goes for Lovelace, of course, the 33 in 3rd. Nearly matching lap times between 1st and 2nd at the start-finish line. Advantage goes to Thorpe by, if I had to eyeball it, about 400ths of a second last time around. Keeping in mind that is the previous lap time, so at the start-finish line, the lap times will update. Trey Jackson, meanwhile, staying in 5th place from number 5. No pressure for him right now. He's got about a second and a half, correction 2 seconds, between himself and the 28 of Tony Brent, which I absolutely love. Loving that red color. I guess it's more of a maroon, technically. But Brent is under fire from the 13 of Hunter Karsten, winner of the Clash at Five Flags Speedway. No points along the line. It was just an exhibition event. However, it doesn't mean Karsten isn't running well. So the gap has stagnated between Brian McCann and Michael Thorpe Jr. 11 laps to go until the stage completes. Again, no cautions at the end of the stage. Once we hit the end of the stage, it's just, we still keep going. That's it. Ryan Lynch, is he finally going to pit road after just about 70 laps? Depending on where he goes, depending on where his pit box is, he will finally decide, all right. And we'll see, 64 laps as well, so more than likely one more pit stop needed for Ryan Lynch if he's maybe unable to make it into the second half of the race. We'll see how things go, but he did cross the start-finish line, by the way. 70 laps on his tires officially. Well, Travis Dart has gotten by the teammate of Jared Claude, who is 1 lap down in the 46 machine. 34 and 33 still holding station. Still second, third. Travis Dart fourth, nearly in the outside wall. Wow. And you saw the backfire as well. That was Travis Dart letting off the throttle going, oh no, that's the outside wall, and it's approaching a lot faster than I would like. Dare I say the forbidden words in motorsport? Not yet. I'm gonna wait until the end of the stage, and then I'll say it. But if you know, then you know. I'll say we had a certain flag status very consistently throughout this event. I wonder if that would count as a commentator's curse whatsoever. We'll see how things go in the next 7 or so laps. And Lovelace is deciding, you know what? It'd look a lot better if the 33 were in front of the 34 numerically. So I had 8:33, then 34 for the top 3 at the end of the stage. However, the tires have very vehemently said otherwise. I think Travis Dart was just on the outside wall as well. So, stagnating, but for good reason, and that's in the sense of these drivers are driving their cars to the absolute limit. That is Victor Pfluger on the apron. Did he nail the outside wall by chance? Let's take a look in car. Now just a slow pit entry. It's been 32 laps since Pfluger had last hit, or since Victor Pfluger last pit. So I wonder if that damage on the outside of that car is new. Well, if you have a chance, we'll go ahead and run this back, take a look. So this was one lap beforehand, a little bit of a slide. Ah, that's what it was. Run it back one more time and take a look from the blimp. Nothing to do with the 27, but more to do with the grip. Did Pfluger get the tires on the apron? No, but he did slide a little bit and nails the outside wall. That looks like a very soft hit in comparison, but we did take a look to see if his steering was bent. It doesn't look like it. But he did decide, yeah, you know what, I'll just stay on the apron, play it safe. So great sportsmanship in the form of Victor Pfluger being very well aware of all the cars around him and making sure that doesn't take anybody else with him. Thorpe still second, Lovelace still third, Dart still fourth, and still first is Brian McCann. 3 laps to go until the completion of the stage. Dare I say, with a 1.9 second gap, McCann is very, very comfortable. Or more, not the most comfortable. He's fallen back to the 18th place position after getting passed by Corey Moore. Cameron Sarton, by the way, 1 lap down in 15th. Still running in this race. And in fact, Bill Dart has decided to call the day as well. He has just gotten out of his car. So both John and Bill Dart are out. Chris Chavez, by the way, has just also realized that Chris Chavez had an internet connection issue about 30 some odd laps ago. He has not been able to reconnect in some way, shape, or form. Stage points in 2 laps, says race control. So at the completion of lap 80, not on lap 80, but the completion of lap 80, we'll be seeing those stage points awarded. And I might knock on the door of race control and ask him to hopefully let us know who is where in the stage for the point graphic to be updated, just in case things change. But we will also be keeping a very close eye on that in the meantime. 1 lap to go in this stage. No caution will be coming out at the completion of the stage. Brian McCann has dropped about 0.3 of a second. While I say that, it goes immediately back up to 1.8 seconds. So take a look. Well, here we go, everybody. Across the start-finish line out of turn number 4, Brian McCann will get 10 extra points to his tally. Michael Thorpe Jr. goes second. Third place, Lovelace. Fourth, Travis Dart. Fifth place, appropriately, Trey Jackson. Tony Bann, 6th. 7th, Karsten. 8th, Philip Chavez. 9th will be Jeffrey Souza once he makes his way around across the start-finish line. And then 1.4 seconds behind him is William Duff. That is your top 10 in the stage. Stage points awarded, says Race Control, and we'll be making a tally of that. Apologies if there are any visual issues there for a few moments. So far, so good, and well, that gap slowly but surely starting to come down between McCann and Thorpe. And while we have a chance, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break, but you won't miss any of the action, as you'll see the timing tower to the left-hand side of your screen, and we'll be riding on board Brian McCann.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Back live. Apologies for the apparently very vital missing entire portion of the broadcast, but good timing because here comes Brian McCann and Michael Thorpe Jr. into pit road, and just diving in, it's going to be Trey Jackson, and somehow Tony Brent keeps it under control. Philip Chavez in the 101 does not keep it under control, crashes in pit road. Is that day done? It is. Yes, it is. Oh, that's really unfortunate. I saw the smoke from the engine. And that leaves Zachary Lovelace and Hunter Karsten in first and second place. It's going to be very key. These two drivers started first and second, have been running first and second. Thorpe is going to be the one that is hanging back just a little bit longer. Brian McCann with a 14.8 second stop. Brian McCann with a 14.8 second stop. Michael Thorpe Jr. with a 14.2 second stop. Here are Hunter Karsten and Zachary Lovelace in pit road. William Duff, the provisional leader, in a sense. He'll make his way around, but all eyes are going to be on Travis Dart. In fact, he's made his pit stop already and has jumped ahead of Brian McCann. That same strategy, also 14.7 second stop. Very, very interesting. So on pit road, Travis Dart, actually, correction, he pit 3 laps ago. That's why. He pit 3 laps before Brian McCann. So the undercut had worked out. We saw at the very end that Travis Dart had gone to pit road at the very end of the commercial break. And what do you know, the undercut may have worked, but for how long is the real question. You hear how gentle the 8 is being on the throttle when he came up on that lap traffic of the number 6. Well, I say lap traffic. Apologies to Jonathan Burt. Not lap traffic, lead lap car. He just hasn't pitted yet. It's been 47 laps. He might change his mind now. He does. And pit road goes the number 6 machine. And side by side across the line, around the outside, the 8 has been absolutely enjoying the outside lane. This is now for the lead of the race. And now that the stage is over, I can probably finally say, officially, very, very impressive that we have not yet had a caution. I think saying yet may have just jinxed it, but we will see if the commentary's curse decides to come to fruition or not this afternoon. It was all going fine before the pit stops occurred, and well, Thorpe has just been caught on the back end. Currently sits third, which of course isn't an awful thing, but compared to sitting directly behind, at least a little bit directly behind Brian McCann before the first pit stops, then 2 seconds behind, and kind of wavering a little bit before the second round of pit stops most recently. Now he's 3.7 seconds off. Travis Dart in very, very prime position to slow down Brian McCann if he does decide to do so, in the sense of running side by side. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but it does a lot. Just a little bit faster at the start-finish line was Brian McCann by 0.05 of a second. In fact, if I want to be more precise, 0.048 seconds. I think that's if I'm reading that correctly. If not, then it's 0.052 seconds across the start-finish line. That time by across the start-finish line, 0.2 faster was Brian McCann. The number 8 machine is just on a entirely separate level. It's absolutely impressive as to what the 8 has done so far. Missed the previous race. Of course, running part-time, and now look at him running in first. He was 27th in the points, technically speaking, coming into this event. It's just absolutely amazing. As to what is being done so far by the 8 machine. There's still a few laps left to go, and there's still a little bit left to play for in case anything, and probably everything, does happen. We'll see how things go in the meantime. A bit of a behind-the-scenes sneak peek as well, just to break the fourth wall a little bit. Currently going through and updating the points as of the end of the stage. I would have thought that just doing math was a little bit difficult. I hear a certain someone is coasting, and that might be the 27 of Brian Johnson. Let's ride on board. let's take a look back at the brewing battle for P3. Zachary Lovelace and Michael Thorpe Jr. These two have been seeing each other all race. I wonder if they've gotten tired of seeing basically almost the exact same matte gray car, just in two varying styles. Especially one number apart. Of course, Lovelace, a part of the Texas Speed team. Michael Thorpe Jr., part of the Guardian Autosport team alongside Hunter Karsten. So, two different teams, relatively the same paint scheme, one number apart. You would think they'd be on the same team. They are not. And Johnson has fallen back to the 11th place position. This is the closest battle on track that we are watching right now. Not technically a battle, but at the same time, anything can and will definitely happen, such as Thorpe getting held up a little bit by Brian Johnson. Not to Brian Johnson's fault. A little bit slow mid-corner, as Johnson is definitely struggling with that, with those tires. He hasn't pit for the last, he hasn't pit since 37 laps ago. So roughly about lap 75, if I had to think, or if not lap 80. That's just math off the top of my head as well. I say let's ride on board for a few laps and take a look at the lap times between both of these drivers. Lap times basically equal as we continue to ride on board, just listening to the engines, the throttle control. Seeing Travis Starr getting brought back into this battle as well. So as of right now, with double checking here really quickly, a lot of positions have shuffled in the point standings, and that's just with the stage alone. We are this early in the season, but it is still very, very crucial. We won't be able to have this on a graphic as of yet. It's a little bit too soon to have, but it does give me an idea for next week. We'll have a graphic of how the drivers are really finishing the stage if we can. When I say more compact stage graphic that doesn't take up the entire screen. Of course, the final positions still very much in play here. and these points will matter. Where Michael Thorpe Jr. currently sits, he goes from, luckily for Michael Thorpe Jr. actually, with where he finished in the stage, he moved from 18th to 3rd, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th in the points. Again, that's just with the stage, but that is wonderful, wonderful momentum for Thorpe to have. So every single point matters, especially with how close everybody is. Not including the current race results. The current points are as follows. I can at least read those out. Andrew Medlin is still first in points at 47. Chris Chavez Ezri is at 42 points. Tony Brent at 70 points. Correction, 40 points. Apologies. Hunter Carson at 38 points. Victor Fluger at 36. David McConnell at 36. Philip Chavez at 34 points. Brian Johnson at 33. Thorpe at 30. Travis Start, Jared Claude at 29 points. 27 points between Doug Pierce and Zachary Lovelace. 25 points between Moore and Duff. Jonathan Burt and Sam Siegel at 24 points. And so forth and so on. And that's just with the stage completion, keeping in mind. That's not including current points that are definitely at play. I shall see if Little Third is being cooperative today. Oh, now it works. This wasn't working earlier for whatever reason. Well, the one thing that might also not be working is maybe Travis starts steering after, scraping the outside wall. He has hung on to it, luckily. Let's see if this will work. Oh my gosh, this actually might be working. Hold on a minute. Is this actually working? Ah, sweet. Well, okay, not including stage points, I believe these are the real-time points. Perfect. So again, these points do not include the stage points. I don't know. I'm not sure if they will be updated if I were to update the stage points as of now, but the current points tally does not include stage points. Not sure why Brian McCann is still being shown at 0, but Thorpe is at 56. It might be because, it might be spreadsheet stuff that we have to sort out just a little bit. But otherwise, that still works. Unless you're Brian McCann, apparently. I'm not sure why he still has... He should be at 40 points. And that's not including the stage, so technically he should be at 50 points, but we'll get that sorted for the next race. Trial and error with this new stuff from ATVO. They have recently added the ability to track championship points live. iRacing does not have support for stages, so it's not exactly the most possible to calculate stage points as of right now in real time. But that will be sorted eventually in the future. Mostly just trying to keep track and make sure that the live points are actually correct. In the meantime, Thorpe has managed to break away a little bit from Zachary Lovelace. Travis Dart has not enjoyed the outside wall today. He's been having one too many a meeting, to say the least. I do wonder, I'm going to try something really quickly to see if I can get this to work in the meantime with the point standings. In the meantime, Travis Dart still within striking range a little bit of both Lovelace and Thorpe if in the event that anything were to happen between those two, but we'll see. Things have been wonderfully clean so far. I don't see any reason as to why it wouldn't be going into these final 18 or so laps of this event. But still, the track, of course, as always, presenting a challenge between all these drivers. And, well, about 30 laps on, ever since some of these drivers had last pit, 28 for some, 25 laps since William Duff had pit. He currently sits in the 9th place position in that number 17 machine. And Tony Brents, I think, got a little bit of a connection issue. I did see him blip a little bit, but he is still running side by side with Hunter Karsten and running nearly into the outside wall, but manages to hang on to it. I have to say, 100% props just to keep it under control there. I can only imagine how much the challenge is. And in fact, let's ride on board Hunter Karsten in car. Well, that's how challenging it is. If that doesn't display it, I don't know what else will. 14 laps to go for Brian McCann. 5 seconds separates himself and Michael Thorpe. Thorpe is setting himself away from Zachary Lovelace by about a tenth of a second. Last time by the start-finish line, I'll say this, 0.2 of a second faster is Brian McCann than Michael Thorpe, and Michael Thorpe was 0.1 of a second faster than Lovelace. In the meantime, 11 laps to go, actually 12 laps to go at the start finish line. McCann still continues to lead. Hunter Karsten a little bit under fire from, actually correction, he's Tony Brennan is a little bit under fire from Hunter Karsten. Those are the closest battles on track as of right now. Chavez has been in pit road for the last 20 or so minutes. Nothing much to do right now except just hold your breath and wait. And that usually is what happens. You just have to keep an eye on everything. Granted, there are still 10 laps left to go, so anything can and most likely will happen, depending on what will be occurring here. If some of the drivers have sudden issues with handling or what else. There's definitely somebody missing from the updated points, unfortunately, so I'll have to see how things go with that. But 9 laps to go, coming to 10 to go at the start-finish line. Lovelace has actually gotten back a little bit of that gap between himself and Michael Thorpe Jr. last time by the start-finish line. 0.05 of a second faster was Zachary Lovelace. Both of them hit the outside wall. Almost quite literally driving the tires off the cars. We see as we ride on board, Lovelace is closing. Lovelace is there to the inside. Granted, it might only, quote-unquote, be for P2, but this 1 point could matter, especially so early on in the season. For all we know, the gap could come down to 1 point between 12th place and 13th place once we get into the playoffs. 6.2 seconds, 6.3, 6.5 seconds. The gap continues to widen between McCann and the rest of the field. And two of these drivers battling it out for the second place position with 4 laps to go at the start-finish line. There's Brian McCann. And just now getting through turns 1 and 2, midway, our second and third, Thorpe and Lovelace. We can see the gap here. There's McCann. And there are Thorpe and Lovelace. That, my friends, is a 7-second gap, give or take 0.2. Absolutely fantastic job by McCann. Would have thought it would have been Chris Chavez or Michael Thorpe, and while Thorpe is still running in the top 3, McCann is definitely showing dominance. Yeah, has done a wonderful job, not only on pit strategy, pitting on the same lap and somehow managing to stay ahead of Thorpe, who is now currently under fire from Lovelace. Side by side, I saw the bobble on the inside. Lovelace thinks now that it's 2 laps to go, now is the time to make the move. Side by side, into turns 1 and 2 they go. Staggered side by side, give or take. Thorpe just running the outside lane. You can carry so much speed on the outside, and it proves to almost be successful. And of course, you see why I say it was almost successful. White flag at the start-finish line. Brian McCann has taken the white flag, so this race is official. There are second and third. Brian McCann, enough praise cannot be said about the number 8 machine, or the Word 8, or however you want to refer to it as. But one thing is for certain. After putting on a dominant run, 7.2 seconds, Brian McCann can definitely call himself a winner here at FSRA. And second place, just held off, is Michael Thorpe Jr. Third place, Zachary Lovelace. And what a wonderful job by the 8 machine, who sends it drifting in turns 3 and 4, still controls the car and keeps it out of the outside. Well, I think he's just showing off at this point, honestly. Well, they overshot the start-finish line by, I would say, about 200 feet. And the 8 machine, rightfully so, burns it down on the front straightaway. A little bit of a jaw and force. And we're taking a look at the finishing results momentarily. In fact, we'll do that now while we have the chance. Oh, it's still cycling even through this. That is, well, highly unfortunate. Well, old-fashioned. There we go. Thanks to the good old timing tower, we now have that, as McCann's engine has just decided to combust into flames. But, well, we don't have the full screen graphic, but we do have the timing tower, luckily. And if there's anything incorrect, well, I'll just, we'll see. But an 8.2 second gap, a further 1 second from what I said when I was calling him to the finish. Brian McCann is your winner here at Atlanta. We're going to interview with your top 3 momentarily once we get everything updated in terms of points. Michael Thorpe Jr. finishes in 2nd place. Still a brilliant drive. Same goes for Zachary Lovelace, finishing in 3rd. Travis Start finishes 4th. Trey Jackson finishes in 5th. Tony Brent finishes in the 6th place position. Hunter Karsten, 7th place. Jeffrey Souza finishing 8th. And that was the rest of the field on the lead lap. 9th place is William Duff. Ryan Lynch rounding out the top 10 positions. Jonathan Burt finished 11th. 12th place, Cameron Sarton. 13th, Brian Johnson, Jared Claude, and Larry Griffin rounding out the top 15, with Corey Moore finishing in the 16th place position. Doug Pierce finishing 17th. The rest of the drivers, all the way from 18th to 23rd, were either sitting in pit road or have chosen to retire in that order. And so that is your finishing result for this event. We will be back momentarily. We're going to take a quick break, get some stuff updated in terms of the points, very crucially, especially in terms of the points. And then we will be back with the interviews for your top 3 and to look at the schedule going into the rest of the season. So stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Well, it is time for the post-race results. So I say post-race results. We already showed the post-race results. It's time for the post-race interviews, and we will be getting to the top 3. And in the meantime, don't worry, because I will be updating the points on the back end while we go through finishing results. So I will go through and get everything done here in just a couple of moments' time. But man, oh man, a caution-free race. And what a race it was. Someone who had a relatively successful race, I would say, on the surface at least. That would be one of the drivers with the number 30 involved in some way, shape, or form. And of course, that leads us to the third place finisher of Zachary Lovelace. And well, Zachary, as much as you were pushing for that second place position, the 33 finishing third, just to me, it feels quite appropriate.
It does feel right, doesn't it?
Oh man, a caution-free race as well, a few pit stops. My gosh, I still have just absolutely no words. So walk us through, of course, not only the qualifying for, at least for you, as well as just running throughout this entire race.
Yeah, I mean, in a race like this, you got no reset, so you got to get it right the first time around. Strategy was just do what these fast guys are doing, more or less, be off by a lap. Luckily, that worked out nicely. Nice, even kind of thirds of the race there. And quali, I was just praying that I was sticking it somewhere near the front because I knew I needed some clear air early on, or I might get stuck back there and just have trouble moving up and finding my own rhythm, I guess.
And of course, you did manage to find your rhythm, of course, and well through the event as well. A lot of drivers were using a lot of different lines. Some of them stuck to about the same line, about the middle to the top groove of the track. So how are you with managing your? Well, I ask, how are you with managing your tires? I mean, it's obvious. You finished in sixth place or third place. I'm going through the points here, trying to make sure everything is updated. But the question is, how have you managed your tires throughout the event? Of course, it's more than just the throttle control, what lines you're running, and steering angle, but of course it's just all those combined at once, and no doubt at least a little bit stressful.
Oh, for sure. The whole time, I'm sitting there sweating it, thinking I might have gone too early or I didn't go at all. I learned from the practice race a bit that you can't just sit back on the tires and expect them to last a lot longer. You need to use them a bit while they're still fresh. And so I felt like I brought that a little bit better this time. Obviously not as good as Brian out there, but just a lot of knowing when to push. A lot of the time I was just content following the 34 round. I knew that we were both pretty quick, and I didn't really want to waste a bunch of time and a bunch of tire trying to battle him until right at the last second there. And I think that helped a bit. But yeah, just kind of lucked into it, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, but I'm thrilled with this.
Before we go ahead and let you go celebrate your third place finish, next week we head to Motegi, a track that, of course, does have it's like a gateway, I would like to say, just a little bit wider, and if I remember correctly, from Motegi, it's might be in Japan, I think. So not only a wider gateway, but across the pond, if so to speak, but a significantly wider track than Gateway. So what are your thoughts heading into that race for next week?
To be honest, I'm only really familiar with the road course there. Haven't run any of the oval yet. Just hoping that I can find use of some of that extra width to get some passing done and keep this momentum.
Before we go ahead and let you go, anyone that you'd like to shout out that helps you get it done for that number 33?
Of course, my whole team, Texas Speed, and then the guys over at G-Force as well. Just great group of guys. They've been helping me so much here, and just hats off to them.
I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations on your third place finish.
Thank you.
And that is Zachary Lovelace, the third place finisher, driver of the number 33. As I continue to update the points, let's go ahead and throw up a couple laps here with the 34 Michael Thorpe Jr. and as well as bring in the number 34 of Michael Thorpe Jr., who did a pretty fantastic job, so to speak, I would have to say, despite the fact that, despite the fact that, of course, Brian McCann had somehow, some way run away at the final stint. Michael, you did a wonderful job, I would have to say. You were just up there consistent throughout the entire night, save for, of course, pit stops and the position shuffling through that. But regardless, you'd also managed to hold off Lovelace throughout all of that.
Yeah, thank you.
And of course, going into tonight's event, of course, we all know that it was the 2008 iteration of Atlanta. So how were you with your tires?
At first on new tires, it was starting to get tight then, but I knew not to overdrive the car. I knew it was gonna come to me, so I just let the car roll and lift it as much as possible and be patient. And it came to me. Got the tightness went.
And of course, with the green flag pit stops as well, did you think at some point that there would be any cautions whatsoever? I mean, everyone relatively and very fantastically had ran a clean race, but man, the pressure, of course, for pit entry as well to get that correct. Have you practiced your pit stops at all? Or at least the pit entry, more crucially. Oh, somehow we might have accidentally lost Michael Thorpe really quick. There we go. Now you're back.
Sorry.
That was on me. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
But yeah, I'm Thomas. The pit stops are actually yes, but I'm actually pretty impressed everybody kept it straight. And this track is not easy, so props to everybody that's actually do that.
Of course, the challenges for this track definitely presented itself, but not enough to have anyone blow a tire, luckily. So heading into Motegi next week, it's the same question asked for Lovelace as well in the same description. I said it was basically just a gateway, but a little bit wider. So your thoughts heading to Motegi for next week?
Not a big fan of Motegi, but hey, a race is a race, so I'm always down. Throw down.
Well, before we go ahead and let you go, shout out who gets it done for you in that number 34.
My dad, TWRS, Guardian Autosport, Golden Guardian Autosport, and everybody that watches the streams. Hey, you guys, you are just audience. We plan to put on a show for you guys.
We're going to go ahead and let you go celebrate that well-deserved second place finish. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
That is Michael Thorpe Jr., driver of the 34. And now we move on to the driver who somehow, I guess, bolted on the new set of tires while he was still driving the final laps of the race. Brian McCann, you had set a somehow blistering pace, and then you did it again a bunch of times, heading out throughout the final few laps. What a run is all I really have to say, but absolutely impressive. That I'm pretty sure you practiced the track, of course, but man, I've never seen anyone run away with the lead like that.
Yeah, thank you. I heard Michael talking about the setup, and that was what we had to learn because at first it was a little tight, and I think it was on lap 5 or whatever. I hit the wall and fell back, so I was like, "Oh, that's not good." But the setup was tight at first, and then it got loose as we went on. So learning that how it progressed through the run, the next time I come out, it was a little bit easier to do, but. Very interesting race and very fun race.
It was a lot of fun too, especially going caution free, where you were considering how things were going already with, say, 10 laps to go. Did the thought cross your mind of, gosh, I hope there isn't a caution at all in those final 10 laps?
Oh, definitely. When I had the lead there, caution comes out, we're stacked back up, and everybody wants to win at that point in the last 2 laps or whenever the caution came out, and so yeah, I was rooting for no caution there, but if it was, we was going to go and get tires and fight it out. So luckily it didn't happen.
Luckily, that wasn't the case. Luckily, we're in the alternate reality where that didn't happen. So, moving on into the next couple of races, I believe. Let me double check really quickly because I'm pretty sure that you are. Actually, no, you are so not planning to be part time at least. So, hanging the next week, your thoughts going into I nearly almost said gateway. That's maybe I shouldn't have equated Motegi to just a wider gateway because now I'm starting to call it gateway. But your thoughts heading into that oval for next week with just I think about what 7 lanes, 7 car widths of space, if not 10.
Yeah, I love that track. I love flat tracks. I love gateway. I think it's Milwaukee Mile, Twin Motegi. I've only raced it. Oh man, maybe just a handful of times. But I really enjoy the racing there. It seems like there's a couple different lines you can do, and and the really long straightaways and slow corners really can make it interesting sometimes.
Before we go ahead and let you go celebrate your race win, shout out who gets it done for you in that number 8 machine.
Yeah, shout out to my family, my spotter tonight, repeat 1975 on social medias, and you for doing the broadcast, league admins for doing the behind the scenes work, race control for keeping an eye on us, and everybody watching tonight, and drivers as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time, of course, and we hope to talk to you again next week. Well, that is Brian McCann, the race winner of tonight, and lo and behold, guess what? Still doing the points, because trying to do about 50 million things at once is apparently very difficult. So, I'm going to quote-unquote stall for time just a little bit while I still get these points typed out and updated and positions moved and everything, but it beats... Actually, I wonder, do I have the ability to do a community post on this channel? Because I know that's a thing. I don't know if I have the ability to do community posting as of yet. I should double check that. And oh, I do. Well, that's easy. Okay, cool. That makes this a lot easier. Cool. Okay. Well, I am going to go ahead and instead wrap up. But next week it is Twin Ring Motegi. Same time, same channel, at least on YouTube. Keep an eye on the community tab for the updated point standings and the schedule going forward, or at least the race winner. And in fact, I should be able to just bring it up right here. I've not updated with the current winner as of yet, which is the number 8 machine of Brian McCann. But I've not updated that as of yet, but that will be replacing the lap counter. That's why Andrew Medlin is there at Daytona. So that's why his name is sitting there at Daytona. I should probably have a denotes winner thing somewhere at the bottom of that, but we'll get that eventually, probably for next week. But Mobility Resort Motegi is next week, 99 laps, and that is not a typo. It is 100% 99 laps. So that is going to be something to look out for. In the meantime, the stage will end on lap 35 next week at Motegi. Then we move on to Dover, and then more interestingly, let me phrase that differently, but very interestingly, the Red Bull Ring for the first road course of the season. We had back stateside to Michigan, Iowa, Darlington, Charlotte, not the road course, sadly. The Nashville Fairgrounds, a 100-lap double header. There'll be 2 100-lap races in that night on September 17th. We move over to Bristol, then Kansas, and then Sonoma will make the second and last road course of the schedule, with Talladega being the season or regular season ender until the playoffs, where the round of 12 will fight it out in race 15 and race 16. Something to note is that once the playoffs are active, so as of Homestead, Miami, once we start that race, the winner of that race or the winner of Milwaukee move to the round of 8. That same thing happens for the round of 8. The winner of the round of 8, or the race winners in the round of 8 at Phoenix and Auto Club, if there's 2 of them, they move on automatically to the championship 4. That is the only time where there's effectively a win and you're in system. It is just that. As far as I know, and I have not been corrected, so it's only the top 12 that will be moving on into the points or going into the playoffs. I think they'll also have a points reset, but we'll see how things go. Of course, taking into account the playoff points, we'll have that in the meantime. But Homestead and Milwaukee will be race 15 and 16 for the round of 12. Then I move on to my home track, Phoenix, yay. And then the sadly now defunct in real life Auto Club Speedway, which, man, I wish I was able to catch a race there. That will hold the round of 8. And then Las Vegas and Richmond will be the championship 4. And like I said earlier, that is not a typo. Las Vegas and Richmond, 2 races for the championship 4 for them to decide who will become the champion at season's end and year's end as well in that instance. That does it for tonight's event. Keep an eye on the community tab where I will be posting the point standings, because apparently now that I have that, I'm just going to use that instead of trying to fumble around and panic while trying to make sure everything actually, is correct. So I'm going to do that momentarily. Keep an eye on the community tab in the next few minutes. And otherwise, hopefully you had a wonderful evening, and hopefully we will see you all next week at Twin Ring Motegi.